Subtle skills, big results.
Welcome to the Ninja Selling Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Ninja Selling Podcast. Rob Nelson is here with Peter Parnegg again today, fresh back from the Midwest. Peter, welcome home and tell us what you have been up to for the last week.
Trying to avoid eating too many cheese curds in Wisconsin, too many hot dogs in Illinois, and I don't know what they eat in Indiana, but I did a roadshow of 8 business planning sessions starting in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and ending up in Green Bay, to about 600 agents, as you said, in multiple markets, multiple states of their business, and it was revealing.
And Peter spent about half the time that he was there behind the windshield of a Chevy Impala or some rental car.
Dodge Durango.
There you go. And he made a road trip through the Midwest, but it was a fascinating thing. We had an amazing ninja company commit to hosting in-person business planning. And Peter, what was the upshot? If you were to summarize what you saw in the past week, what is happening out there?
We have been talking for the last maybe 10 months at Ninja about this idea of the Great Divide. In other words, about 10 to 15% of the realtors have made it in just fantastic flying colors through the decrease in transactions, through the lawsuits. As a matter of fact, they're almost thriving through this difficult time. And that's about 10 to 15%. And then, as you know, the Great Divide was this idea there's 75% of the agents in the business who have not thrived through this. And my observation is that right now there's a Great Divide within the Great Divide. And what that means is about, and I'm just taking a guesstimate number based on the numbers I was witnessed, 50% of the non-thriving agents have, I would say, thrown in the towel. Emotionally, they're just like, I don't have the energy, I don't have the skill set, I don't have the will, I don't know what, but I'm not going to show up.
Okay.
And then there's the group that are going, I can't do it that way, either because of need or desire, who are, all right, we know the market, it is what it is. I don't want to live in victimhood. I want to be a player using, our terms. And it's like, show me what I have to do. And I'm willing to do it. And amazingly enough, we came up with this great idea. Let's start with the Ninja 9. And it was really interesting how all the light bulbs are clicking like, oh, will that work? And the answer is absolutely. And they've been doing, the Ninja 1.5, well, I've been being grateful. Like anything else? No. And so we just didn't dissect. We teased apart 10 really specific behaviors built into Ninja that can ignite a business today, between now and even November 30th.
Okay.
Because the teaching here was December is the great flow month of the year.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to parties, you're out. What if we did all of the preparatory things like, let's actually get your database somewhat current, and all the things that people have been procrastinating for months, years, a career. I got an email yesterday from somebody who was in the business planning on Tuesday, implemented something, and already had a $415,000 transaction created.
How'd they do it?
So this is a true story. We teach high energy, low energy, put yourself in the performance quadrant. And I have this belief, if you listen to how realtors answer the phone, that is really a reflection of the American culture of irritation at telemarketers.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this suspicious attitude. If you get, you got 3 phone calls that happen, the one of somebody the potential spam,
mm-hmm.
and then an unknown number. And we mistake an unknown number as a potential spam.
Sure.
So part of the conversation is put yourself in the high performance quadrant anytime the game is on the line.
Okay.
And imagine that just how you answer the phone is thing. So the piece when we showed that was, why do we get mad at people who are calling us to sell things when we are in fact in sales?
Okay.
And the duplicity of that is,
mm-hmm.
So the idea was, instead of being suspicious and answering, have you heard it before? People answer, hello. It's like, oh boy, I want to do business with you. But move yourself into the high, hi, this is Peter Parnegg, Ninja Selling. How could I help you? And if it's a telemarketer, be nice to them rather than berate them. So this guy says, I got an unknown call on a $415,000 listing that I would not have answered had I not gone to business planning, because what we're saying is answer those calls.
Sure.
And he said, it's a house I've not gotten any showings on. I've showed it and he's interested to it. And he said, I would have let that go to voicemail. And who knows if they would have even left the message.
Interesting. So he got a deal by picking up his phone
And being nice.
Incredible. Well, that is one of it sounds like 10 big takeaways from your business planning courses this year. And it's interesting, Peter, we often look at the real estate business as not matching the calendar quarters perfectly. And you and I've had this conversation many times that in all markets there is some cycle. There's some prime time and resort markets. There's a natural market cycle of moves over the summer in the area that we live. There's a cycle everywhere. It's not always perfect. But one of the things that really seems to be perfect is that the real estate agent's year starts in November. It doesn't start in January because you need that 45 to 60 days of priming the pump to get the results in January, to be back in flow with people, or to have the opportunities to serve them as their real estate needs sort of evolve around the natural cycle. Tell us a little bit about why you did business planning when there's still 1/6 of the year left. And a lot of people are saying, well, I haven't given up on 2024. That's not what we're suggesting. Tell us a little bit about that.
Actually, it's a great observation, and it's almost the opposite. Because if you clearly January, if that's the start of the year, what you're doing in October and November, December is the launch for January. I want to be cautious because if you're at a company or you're only doing business planning in December or January, do it whenever it's there. But the thinking is that if we have some mechanical items to get our house in order and we could get those built before Thanksgiving, then December is busy enough without going, I got all this real estate stuff I got to do. So instead, you can be present in your conversations at the parties if you go to them, and or you're connecting with people without having that nagging, I have this theory, and everybody listening, if so, give me a thumbs up, even silently. I think realtors live in a perpetual state of low-level guilt about all the people they have in contact and the database that isn't done, and it's just nagging. And so our goal was to see if we could clean off that nagging guilt by the end of November. And so we could just be happy and present and connecting during December and preparing for Christmas if we have a family and children and all the things without that, I go, psychic baggage was part of the thinking.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. A lot of people think of business planning as having these incredible, deep, thoughtful days of how am I going to give back to the world that has given me so much, and these almost esoteric things that come out of the idea of I need to plan for the future.
I'm worried that ours was too shallow.
Well, and that's my point, Peter, is that the best business plan I've ever seen is the one that's done.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these things that we talk about in business planning are designed to plant seeds for what you want to have happen. And that's all incredible. That is the mindset of Ninja. What's even better is a calendar of the flow items that you're going to be sending out in the first quarter of next year with them done and ready to go. So if you look at it from that standpoint of the done business plan as the best business plan, and getting it done this week is the goal, because you went on the road for 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
You taught 600 people
Mm-hmm.
how to start and end their business plan in a single day. It doesn't mean that they're done. It doesn't mean that it's absolute, but it is absolutely ready to go so that they can get started on next year. What would be the biggest things you would suggest an agent do?
Well, funny you would ask, because it's baked into our business plan. You got to get your database right, because the longer you procrastinate that, Jeff Olson, in his famous book, The Slight Edge, he said, everything you don't have done keeps you living in the past. You're looking in the rearview mirror, and you can't really move forward because it's kind of pulling you from the back, which I thought is a great way to look at it. So number one, get your database as current as you can. And I think the message is it will never be done. But if you've got 20 and you've got 60 people in your phone, we have this fantastic system to get connected with your phone. We've got, we've got so many things, but I heard at least 5 people say, I've heard this for a year, Peter. I've been procrastinating it. I've done one letter. I've done the letter A. And I said, what a beautiful thing. Today is November 1st. There's 26 letters. Thanksgiving is, I think, on the 27th.
Mm-hmm.
If you just did one letter a day, you would have your database in such pristine shape comparatively.
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes. That's
Done in time for turkey.
Done in time. Ooh, done in time for turkey. We also labeled this 2025 as the year of fluency. Fluency in the buyer process and the seller process, because that now is a game changer with the lawsuits.
Mm-hmm.
And then we all know that the business plan is your Ninja 9. So we got an income goal. We translated that into average income per transaction based on your average price. And now everybody knows how many transactions and how many people to get on your database. Those were the 4 items that we said, if you could just get those, everything else falls into place. It was really small.
It is small, but it's also big. I have to share with you something that's really interesting. Over the last 2 months, I've encouraged our entire team to flawlessly execute the Ninja 9 every single day. And in fact, what we've done, Peter, is here at the Ninja office, like any other office, we have a break room. It has a fridge, and we have taped $50 bills to the fridge.
Ooh.
And if you do your Ninja 9 flawlessly that week, meaning not without stumbling, right? You don't have to have it done by 6 a.m, or your morning routine can be done in the afternoon or whatever it needs to be. But if you can tick all the boxes that clearly say, I completed my Ninja 9 this week, then on your way out the door on Friday, you take $50.
So I'm going through the Ninja 9 real quickly. The big stumbling blocks are 7 and 8, 2 real estate reviews, and 50 live interviews.
Yes.
I don't think here real estate reviews, but how did you, I'll bet you had an idea on that.
Client conversations, client review.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Hot list and warm list are a little bit different, right?
Because,
what I will say is that it is very, very difficult that first couple of weeks to get started.
Right.
It is very difficult.
So why do you think it's difficult?
Because it's out of routine. You're not used to the time blocking. Things get in the way. All of the things that we talk about as being stumbling blocks for executing the Ninja 9 are very real.
100%.
It's very real.
Yeah.
And my point in saying this is that on Friday afternoons, if we tape up 10 $50 bills, half of them will be gone and half of them won't.
Right.
Even the best people, the people who are so fluent in this, are slightly inconsistent about executing it perfectly. However, as you start to do it, as you start to get past the stumbling blocks, something changes. And what that something is I have to do this because I want the 50. I have to do this because I want to be able to be the ninja in the office, right? And you suddenly get into a real routine where it nags at you if you haven't done it. Like you pause the distracting work to do the important work. And I think we've hit that point. Now, where I'm going with this, Peter, is it took us 45 to 60 days to get there. And it just so happens that we really have 60 days left in this year, and 15 of them are going to be filled with amazing experiences that we're going to have where hopefully our real estate business is not on our mind and we're focused on family and our friends and those relationships. But we have 45 days to practice getting perfect at the Ninja 9.
And of course, we would say to making huge progress, because perfection is, but getting better and better and better. Perfect practice makes perfect. So what an interesting thing. So if you could tell me at the end of the first week, how many people said, this is really hard. It's harder than I thought. What were some of the...
It wasn't like that, actually. There was no, in our meeting every week, we've covered one of the Ninja 9 and its application to different people's roles. Because it's not directly aligned, but everybody can come up with massaging it into their roles.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So early on, there were a couple people, the people that have been doing this for a long time, and it's become a piece of who they are. They'd grab their 50 and not think twice because nothing was different. that would sort of trigger the others.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting, Eric Thompson, the president of coaching, on our third week of this, came to our meeting on Tuesdays. We meet on Tuesdays. And he said to our team, I think we should up the ante. And that if Rob doesn't do his, none of us get our 50.
Oh, you know what that reminds me of? You know, when one kid in high school does something bad and the principal gets everybody in there and say, we are sitting here
Yes.
until the person comes forward.
Yes.
Boy, the weight of carrying other people's failure, that's a pretty strong motivator. I guess I should ask.
It is. Oh, of course, it's a strong motivator. I mean, in any leadership role, you want to set a good example. I firmly feel I've seen a lot of different leadership styles, and I will tell you that the servant leadership of rolling up your sleeves, getting in the muck, and helping people out is what works best for me.
Well, all the books say.
Yeah.
All the
mean,
yeah,
that is it.
No news. Yeah.
And so there is no such thing as do as I say, don't as I do, or you simply have to be on it. And that has really, it's been wild for me how many nights I've been ready to go to bed, teeth are brushed, and I'm like,
dang
I
it.
didn't do the 2 notes. I didn't. And here's the thing is there are all the reasons in the world that they'll be sitting there in the morning and I could write 4 the next day and nobody's going to know. But integrity is a thing.
Yeah, it is.
And you go knock those things out real quick. And I will tell you, it has, for me, 50-ish days into this, it's hit that tipping point.
Nice.
To where it's no longer something, I'm not forgetting it. You know, the time blocking has been a revolutionary thing to really, truly time block both your week and the days within it. We talk about this all the time, and I think it's only fair. It's humbling, but it's only fair to admit that those of us who know this stuff inside and out still struggle with it.
I don't know that many people make it through this life without, you know, Jeff Holson says it beautifully in the book. He said, when you're on your way to the moon, you are off target 97% of the time, that it is an ongoing correct, don't protect, correct, course correction all the time. And I think that part of what you're really saying is give ourselves the grace to recognize that you're going to crush it 3 or 4 days and then you'll fall off. And the key is just crush it the next 3 or 4 days and you're going to fall off. And your percentages will increase.
Yeah. If you crush it 80% of the time, you're crushing it.
But never forget that a 357 batting average is like gets you in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, it's the theme shows up everywhere. I guess to put a bow on this, that the big decision is, do you want to or not? Because if you do want to, we have a foolproof way of succeeding in this market. It's just it's not a how much, it's just if you do most of it, you will absolutely be successful. So really, I guess the conversation, if you're listening to this, is get clear. Get clear. Do you want to? Because if so, we've got a fabulous, and it's easy, and it's arguably free, except for your 2 postcards a month to your database. Everything else we're talking about is free. No marketing cost other than 2 postcards a month. And golly, boy, do we have a bunch of great ideas. You want a great idea? If you're on LinkedIn, which most of us are, we get notifications. Congratulate Rob Nelson for 6 years at Ninja Selling, 5 in your case. We all, if you hit the automatic little button, it sends it back. Why would we not pick up the phone if you got that message? Because if you know the person, and just go, Rob, holy moly, 5 years. Tell me the highlights of the last 5 years. What are you struggling with now? It's business to business. It's legitimate. I mean, that call feels so easy to me. Ask a few forward questions, and I'll bet you there's 3 transactions right there.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So, Peter, we have options for business, right? So most people listening probably know that we do a monthly business planning live stream session with Larry Kendall. We charge $99 for that.
Yep.
It's 3 hours, and it's designed not to be the workshop in which you complete your business plan. It's not a full day, but it's designed to give you a plan whereby you will individually complete your business plan. And that business plan is very comprehensive. It has everything that Ninja feels a business plan needs for you to have a firm foundation to start the year.
Mhm.
But let's say that somebody is so far away from being ready for that. I want you to repeat the 4 things that you think they need to do to succeed in this year so that they, by the end of November, can focus on board and record instead of the nagging business plan.
Number one, get your database as best you can. Everybody, I asked the question in front of 600 people, raise your hand if your database is in good order. And we have been beating the drum in this company for 2 years about database. 8 people, maybe. No, 50. No, 30 out of 600. So I know it's industry wide. I know it's emotionally draining. If you were to say, every day I'm going to go through my phone, I think we actually maybe have if we don't have a Ninja now,
We do. A Ninja U, we do.
Yeah, about how to go through your phone
Yes.
and get it right.
Yes.
Do that. Just do that. A letter a day. Second, the only other thing you need to do is to make the decision to get the addresses and put them into some CRM so that you can send the 2 postcards.
Use a spreadsheet. Write on a piece of paper. You'll figure it out.
Yeah, you have to figure out, but you got to figure out how to send them the postcards. And if you don't get it, you can go to Express Docs. There's a bunch of ways. And then the third thing is get clear on your income goal. And if you do, then take your average price in your area times 0.00375. You know how many people need to be on your database. And then the last thing, figure out what your average income per transaction is. Times the average commission rate times your split, and then figure out how many transactions you need.
Yeah. And from there, all you need is a new goal contract.
And to make an agreement to do the Ninja 9.
Yeah.
Everything falls into place. By the way, add one more. Use the buyer and seller process.
Buyer and seller process.
Buyer and seller process. Yeah.
But if you really started the year with just those 4 things, and realistically, it could be done in an hour. And if someone's really struggling with it, reach out to us.
Yeah.
We'll help you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I love the idea of let's declare 2025 the year of fluency in the Ninja 9 and the buyer and seller process. What a great,
love it,
little piece.
Love it. So Peter, one more thing. This is a Peter Parnegg perennial favorite, is the word of the year. It's something that you have brought to our organization probably 6-8 years ago, something like that. Yeah. And it's time to start thinking about our word of the year. Mm. And one of the things that's interesting about the word of the year is oftentimes our word of the year changes or it evolves. So the further out we start thinking about our 2025 word of the year, the more time we have to make sure that really is our word of the year. So give us the quick and dirty on what the word of the year is about. Tell us anything that we need to know so it can start marinating. And there's certainly no need to pick your word of the year, but let's get thinking about it.
The prerequisite is that you have to be honest with yourself about something that you know you aren't doing that you aspire to doing at some level. Don't confuse it with an affirmation. And what it is a corrective mechanism, at least as I dreamt it up 20 some years ago, to find something that I go, I just keep struggling with this. And if I were to fix this in a year, I'd be really happy. The very first one I ever dreamt up is that I realized that I could have the potential to be sharp-tongued, or I could be clumsy. And for example, if I were coaching somebody, I would be too direct, maybe hurtful.
Mm-hmm.
And I likened myself to like a chainsaw surgeon. I got in, but oof. And I wanted to be an arthroscopist. Almost no evidence. So my word for the first year was I wanted to be more graceful.
Okay.
With every interaction, not as clumsy, not as harsh. Then one of the things, and this may be somewhat to do with I don't know if my brain's scattered, but I have some ADHD, certainly ADD. Last year, the word was finish.
Mm-hmm.
Let's finish everything I start. If I don't want to finish it, don't start it, because that distractibility. 3 years ago, we seized on a multi-word, which was make the effort. In other words, given the choice, in our case, was to go, oh, it's going to be a lot of work. We kind of want to go to Red Rocks, but it's a lot of driving and the parking, and then often you don't. Every time we made the effort, we were like, I'm so glad we did this.
Yeah.
So there's 3 of our big examples. The idea it's aspirational, it's corrective or supportive of a behavior that you recognize in yourself that is not something you want to keep repeating.
Mm-hmm. My 2024 word of the year is simplify.
Mm-hmm.
I have a wonderful ability to complicate things that don't need complicated. And I also live in a pretty complicated world.
Mm-hmm.
I have a bit of a complicated role. There's a whole bunch of things that are needing simplification in my life. And I will tell you, it has been something I have come back to at times where either I have complicated my own situations or the circumstances have found their way to the top of complication, right? Where you're like, what just happened? This went from so straightforward to so complicated. And that word of the year, anchor, has been tremendous this year. And I feel that in many ways, I have really not simplified. However, along the way, it has guided the decisions that we have made.
Did you come up with any techniques when you realized, it's spiraling, danger, danger?
I haven't. I'm not sure that I have a conscious. I think one of the best techniques I have is a wife who reminds me constantly of when I'm not simplifying things.
So do you think it's, you have a lot of horsepower intellectually, and sometimes that horsepower can get out of control?
Sure.
Do you think you attract complexity or create it, or it's baked into the job, or maybe all three?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. So was 2024 the first year you embarked on the year of the year, a word of the year?
No. I did have a 2023 word of the year. And that was actually my word of the year was finish. And it's you kind of.
Did I take it?
Word of yours? I don't know. But though similar tendencies, I think I was also in a period where coming out of the pandemic, both in life and in business, there were a fair number of things that were put on the shelf for a while,
right?
That were really high potential, really important,
but not urgent.
And they felt urgent until we all started wearing masks. And do you remember when our priorities shifted dramatically? And in some ways in business, there was a 3-month window of like just trying to figure out what to do again. And so I pulled a lot of those things off the shelf and pushed them across the finish line. Or I think the interesting thing about finish is gracefully abandoning something in a way that is the totality. It's not coming back. Was the other thing I learned in that year is that not everything you start has to be finished. However, if you want to finish it, you should.
And the brilliance of that is pick your battles, but the awareness that finish is the word of the year should make one a little more premeditative and discerning on what you start. Because if you ain't going to finish it, what does James Mitchell say? If it isn't a hell yes, it's a no. Which I brought that up the other day.
Yeah.
What I do think about this word of the year, and let's finish this piece, they are cumulative.
Yeah.
And all of them now have a place in my behavioral sifting mechanism during the year. It's like, there you go. Make the effort. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be graceful.
Yes.
Graceful. Don't be choppy. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
well, that is the bonus to today is get your business plan done. If we can help you with your business plan, we've got business planning sessions with Larry Kendall, ninjaselling.com. Go to the events calendar. You'll see business planning there. We'd love to see you. If not, you've got a framework of 4 items plus the buyer and seller process that will help you get there.
And we do the 6-hour live. If you want one of the instructors to come,
absolutely,
we'd be happy to. Bring 200 people into the room, and
Peter would be happy to board that Southwest flight, get another Dodge Durango, and drive around and see your people. So thank you so much, Peter, for another wonderful conversation. I appreciate you dearly. Is there anything that you want to leave the ninjas with?
This stuff works.
Awesome. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon.